Today, I'd like to welcome a highly esteemed guest, someone who is a legend in the animal liberation movement, none other than Gary Yourofsky. Welcome.
What's happening, my brother? Nice to see you again. Haven't seen you since Amsterdam.
Yeah, Amsterdam was the last time I saw you. And
Alrighty.
yeah, you did some, I know you don't really dig the street activism, but you did a great job over there. And yeah,
You,
go ahead.
you were doing remarkable work in Amsterdam and in Cologne. I watched you grow, and it was a pleasure to meet you and see everything and see the blossoming. And I love your activism. I love your outreach. And I miss everybody, man. I miss the Cologne and Amsterdam folks. It was a nice little family that we had.
Yes, I agree. And thanks. It means a lot coming from you. So today we're going to talk about Sasha Farm Animal Sanctuary first and foremost, but I think also just a brief introduction for those who don't know who Gary already is, and they should know by now anyway. So yeah, go right ahead.
Okay, do you want to hear about Sasha Farm? Or you want to hear about me?
Both. You decide which one can go first.
Okay, listen, hey, my name's Gary Yourofsky. I've been a vegan for 29 years. I started in 1996. That was back when people were saying vegan. They didn't even know how to pronounce the word vegan back then. I had to spend a lot of time teaching people just how to say it right. Let's see, I started out doing a bunch of different forms of activism, civil disobedience. I got arrested a lot. I would chain my neck to a car in front of a place of torture so I could get some media. I did a lot of media stuff back in the day, sign carrying protests down the streets. I think people know about in 97, I went to a mink concentration camp in Blenheim, Ontario. I liberated 1,542 minks so they wouldn't have their necks broken. I was sentenced to 6 months in prison for that. I got invited to go speak in some schools after I got out of prison, and I realized education was the best form of activism because I got a standing ovation after I gave a 60-minute extemporaneous speech. And 100 of the 800 students that day decided to embrace veganism. And I realized this is where it's at. I have to start teaching people because let's face it, unless we had wonderful parents who raised us vegan, we were all uninformed, misinformed. So I decided to start doing a lecture tour, and man, lo and behold, from then on until the end of 2014, I gave 2,660 lectures. I had a great conversion rate. It was around 50%. And professors told me at minimum it was 15 to 20%. And mind you, that was a tough, I mean, we have a tough social justice movement. I have to teach people to be kind to fish and chickens and turkeys and pigs in 60 minutes. And I was having that amount of success. So it was a hell of a journey that I was on. Had to take a break at the end of 2014. So much stress. My brain was melting from dealing with the idiocy of society and the lunacy of a certain part of the animal rights movement that is more in love with humans instead of animals. We call them intersectionalists. So it was just so much for me. I had to back away, but last year, actually earlier this year, 2025, I came out of retirement. I hooked up with the Anonymous for the Voiceless folks over in Cologne, had 30 days of kick ass protest down there, and then went on to Amsterdam for 10 days. And now back in Michigan, back in my home state. And what's today is October 1st. On October 11th, I'm going to be back at my favorite place in the world, Sasha Farm Animal Sanctuary. It is Michigan's oldest and largest animal sanctuary. I've been going there since 96. It's the Garden of Vegan, the Garden of Eden. And I love hanging out with a couple hundred animals who have been rescued: cows, pigs, chickens, turkeys, goats, sheep. Man, there was once an ostrich there named Hannibal. There was once a raccoon there named Annie. I mean, they'll take in any animal that needs a place to stay. And the coolest thing, there's so many cool things about Sasha Farm, but it's a place where animals can be themselves, right? They don't have a number anymore. They're not branded. They can be themselves. They can behave the way they want to behave. And it's great to befriend them. There's nothing like befriending an animal, whether wild or domesticated. And if anyone has never experienced that type of moment, then you've never experienced love. There's nothing like receiving the love and the trust of an animal. And mind you, all the animals that wind up there were in abusive situations. So it takes a while to earn their trust and win their trust. So for anybody in Michigan right now, if you're available to come on October 11th for the vegan chili cook-off, head on down. If you're close enough to drive there, in Illinois or Ohio, head on down. And I'll say this to all the vegans around the world: I notice that we spend most of our time trying to teach veganism to everyone that we can. And yet I notice that most vegans never interact with the animals that we're always trying to help and save. So get to your local sanctuary. Go volunteer at your local sanctuary. Spend a few hours there hanging out with these animals and seeing how much of an individual each one is, how they have different personalities, just like dogs, just like cats, just like all the animals that we're more familiar with. But I think it's important for all vegans to interact with the cows, pigs, chickens, and turkeys that we're always trying to help. And I would ask people too, if you can send in some donations to Sasha Farm. And I understand if it's your not if that's not your local sanctuary, but that, send money to your local sanctuary. Then help the sanctuaries out, because they're struggling all around the world right now. There's a horrible thing going on in the movement where people are claiming that it's a waste of money. It's not money well spent to help sanctuaries. I find this to be idiotic and absurd. Right now, these animals can only rely on vegans. I mean, I think the meat, dairy, and egg eaters of the world should be required to take care of the rescued animals for all the harm that they're causing, but that's not reality. Reality is these animals are relying on the vegans of the world to help them. So if you're vegan, take some of your money, make it a tithe. Forget about the church, forget about the synagogue, forget about the mosque. Don't give money to those institutions. Make the local sanctuary your institution, your place of worship, and give money to them because they need it, and give them some time as well. I appreciate you letting me talk about Sasha Farm. And of course, check out sashafarm.org, sashafarm.org.
Okay, yes, I will leave a link in the description as well as on the video and also in the comment section. So please donate to Sasha Farm. And also, when you gave your introduction earlier, that's an example of what a real hero is for the animals. Someone who's willing to fucking go to jail for them.
Thanks, brother, man. And listen, it's been a long journey, but I also want to encourage people. Everybody can be a hero for them. Just go out and do something. That's the key, right? So the key word is activism, but the root word of activism is active. People forget about that. Just get active. Don't do nothing. Doing nothing has never helped the world, never saved the world, never made a difference. I just decided back in the 90s I was going to go out and do something. And I did make some promises to a bunch of animals over the years that I had met. And I promised that elephant in the circus in 1993. I was first introduced to the cruelty that animals are going through because my stepdad was a clown in the Shrine Circus. And I was face to face with a 2,000-pound creature who was in chains. And I told her, I said, I'm going to tell everybody about your plight. And some pigs that I saw later on at Thornapple Valley Pig Slaughterhouse in Detroit, as they were in trucks waiting to be called in. And why I was there? Well, I wanted to investigate for myself what was going on. This is when I was learning about all the abuse and all the exploitation. So I made some promises to some animals, decided I wasn't going to be silent. I was going to go out and do something, and I was determined. And listen, I don't own determination. You know, all the ones that are active out there, we don't own determination. Anybody can be determined. Just go out and do something and get out of your comfort zone. Because I hear this a lot. Well, Gary, I'm just not comfortable speaking to other people. Tough shit. Tough shit. Okay. You act like I like love approaching people or standing in front of a classroom when people hate me when I walk in. I don't like it either, but I'm doing it for them. You got to put yourself aside, which is what veganism is all about, right? Being altruistic. We're always putting the animals first. You got to get out of your comfort zone and say things. And listen, say things. You know, it doesn't have to be in Gary's tone. It doesn't have to be my style. Do it how you want, but do it. Do something, say something, confront people, hold them accountable. And I'll give you some quick background to show you how much I did like it. There are times I still stutter. I used to be a horrible stutterer when I was growing up. And if you listen to enough of my conversations on podcasts, you'll catch me stuttering here and there. I had to go in front of a crowd 2,600 times for the animals, and I was a stutterer. Again, still do it at times. So you have to stand up, you have to speak out, you have to do something for them. They're the ones suffering. Whatever we're going through, whatever you're going through, it's not worse than what they're going through. So just stand up and speak up.
Yeah, exactly, man. What we're going through, it's fuck all compared to what the animals go through, and it's hard for us to even begin to imagine the kind of suffering that they go through. And you've got a little bit of an idea because you've been in a cage yourself against your will, so you know a little bit what it's about.
Listen, when I was in prison, I was at the Elgin Middlesex Detention Center in Chatham, Ontario, and I remember also telling the judge before I was sentenced, I said, "You're going to put me in a cage? You're going to let me live the life of a caged animal, and you think it's going to deter me? It's going to intensify my empathy." And when I was in that cage, a 6 foot by 12 foot cell for 77 days before they deported me out of Canada, I remember saying almost every day, I can't believe this is how they live. This is what they go through. I'll be okay. I'm going to get out of here eventually. I didn't know if it was going to be in 77 days or 6 months, but I knew I was going to get out. They never get out. Some elephants in the circus live like this for 25, 35, 40, 50 years. They never get out of this. The other animals are living like this. So, and there were times when I found myself pacing in my cage. I shouldn't even say that. That's not accurate. I didn't find myself pacing. My cellmate, Paul, would scream at me, say, "Gary, would you sit the hell down?" And I would stop and go, "Oh my God, I'm pacing." Just like that elephant in the circus that sways back and forth like this. Just like those mink at that concentration camp when I set them free. They were going like this. It's called screw neck. It's a common neurotic behavior. Just like the bears in the circus that rock back and forth. These are neurotic behaviors animals end up receiving because they're in this unnatural environment. No family, no friends, no love, no sunshine. It's just this horrible, cold, sterile, nasty environment that they live in. And I experienced it. And I'll tell you what, my empathy did intensify and it made me more determined. In fact, that was in 97 when I liberated them, 2 years of the trial. I go to jail in 99. When I get out, actually 10 days after I got released and deported, I went and did an act of civil disobedience where I chained my neck to the rear wheel axle of my car in front of the Detroit Animal Control Center. We found out that they were taking dogs and cats and putting them in garbage cans in the alleyway. And they would take a hose, put the hose into the garbage can, the other end of the hose into the muffler of a car, and they would kill them that way. So I wanted to bring attention to that atrocity that was going on. But as the Detroit Police Department finally cut me loose from the chain and my car, as they were walking me back to the police car, as I passed the TV cameras, I said, "Nice try, Canada." Did work, wasn't going to deter me. Putting me in jail just made me more determined. And that's when I started doing some more lectures too, and realizing this was definitely the path. Education was the best form of activism, and I really immersed myself in just educating people from almost that moment on.
Yeah, and these anecdotes that you shared with me, that brings us to the topic of the video today, which is morality. And that is something that the aggregate of humanity clearly do not understand. And because of that, we do these horrible things to animals. Religion has definitely been responsible for confusing people as to what morality is, as well as these social engineers who hide in the shadows and control the governments of the world. So the first question I have for you today regarding morality is, and actually it's a bit of a joke question. How do you feel about humans' bullshit excuses for continuing to exploit other animals? The first step of the AV protocol, but just a different version.
I think it's outrageous, and I don't know why humans choose to be so defiant about this topic. As vegans, all we're asking people to do is not take part in the exploitation of animals, not to rape the female animals so we can steal their babies, not to steal their babies, for crying out loud. What a simple concept of morality that goes right over their heads. Asking people not to build a house of slaughter that exists so we can chop their heads off and cut their bodies up into dozens of pieces, not to view animals as property, as commodities, not to think that monkeys and mice and bunny rabbits should be tortured in experiments, so we can gather useless information that's never going to be, used for human beings anyways. And even if it were, it would still be immoral and unethical. I don't understand something else, and the vegan movement is kind of responsible for this one, Paul. I don't understand this term moral agents anymore. I know some famous animal rights philosophers have brought this up, and I guess leave it to me to be the one to come out and challenge them. I don't think humans are moral agents in any way, shape, or form. When? Since when? Since when we are immoral agents. Now, there might be a theory that humans could be and are capable of being moral agents, but it's just a theory. It's never been proven to me to this date. I'll tell you who moral agents are: herbivores, bunny rabbits, giraffes, elephants, rhinos. All the herbivores of the world have proven to me that they're moral agents, that they don't want to cause harm to other living beings. They don't want to exploit somebody else so they can exist. Right now, I don't see human beings engaging in morality in any way, shape, or form towards the animal kingdom, let alone towards each other, which is a whole nother issue that I really don't give a shit about these days. But I don't know why morality is so hard for people to grasp. Why being kind to somebody else, and especially somebody else who has never harmed you, never harmed us. I mean, when have cows, pigs, chickens, and turkeys harmed us? Why would they deserve the treatment that we give them? Why would they deserve to have their babies stolen? Why would they deserve to be raped? Why would they deserve to have their heads chopped off? Why do they deserve to be killed when they're babies? I don't know if people realize this, but chickens are killed when they're 6 weeks old, pigs when they're 6 months old, cows about 2.5 years old. We're killing babies, we're killing young animals just so we can eat their flesh and be corpse eaters. We're eating things that come out of their bodies. We're ripping the skins off their bodies so we can make clothes, so we can make shoes, jackets, baseball gloves, sports, sports paraphernalia. What in the world is wrong with us? So, uh, you brought up too religion. Religion has done a horrible job at making human beings moral. I have some pretty harsh things I say about religious people. If you go and listen to some other podcast of mine, or even with a couple of my speeches, And I used to have a good friend, still a good friend. She was a born again, and she used to say, Gary, you are so harsh on religious people when you talk. And I said, you know what? It's because all they do is engage in rituals. If they were good, decent people, I wouldn't be so harsh on them for all the ritualistic shit that they engage in. But instead of finding God, I don't care what God you want to believe in, instead of finding, if they found a Messiah that made them feel good inside, if finding that Messiah made them a good person, I really wouldn't give a shit that much. But all religious people ever do is find God or find some Messiah and then engage in rituals. They dip somebody in water, they grow a long beard, they wear a big hat, they memorize an ancient book, they pray 10, 12, 18 hours a day. What in the world? How is this making you moral? I thought the whole basis of finding God was so you can be a good person, so you can take part in the golden rule. Do unto others as you would want, done to yourself. But nobody does that when animals are involved. Are you telling me all the religious people of the world, the way they treat animals, that's how they would want to be treated? Hell no. In fact, they always claim that they're better than animals and animals deserve it. They're proving right there that they don't embrace the golden rule, which is in all religions, by the way, and that they don't value the four most important words, at least in the Christian and Judaism religions, thou shalt not kill, right? So the religious people are the biggest hypocrites on the planet, and it's disheartening to say the least, especially when 95% of the planet claims to believe in a higher power, claims to believe in a God, but yet less than 1% of those people engage in decent behavior, moral behavior.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, I'm hoping I can give you an answer as to why so many people are engaging in this immoral behavior worldwide. It's basically because the voice of the lie is pervasive. It's everywhere. It's on the media. It's in everywhere in society. People are lying to each other. They're lying to themselves. And comparatively, the voice of the truth is almost non-existent. It's being censored on social media platforms and all that. So, because I remember I was watching one of your speeches back in the day. I think it was the excuses speech in 2014, and you said, "Why is it that it's always the minority that had something along these lines? Why is it always the minority that has to convince the masses to be decent people?"
Man, is throughout history, the majority of people have never been on the right side of morality, never been on the right side of justice. There's always been a small group of people trying to convince everybody, wait a second, stop. What are you doing to these beings? Wait a second, what are you doing? And it's so amazing to me that everybody can be so blind. And it's amazing too that everybody thinks they're a fucking expert and nobody knows shit. You got a bunch of people walking around, a bunch of idiots walking around claiming to be geniuses. I don't know why people don't stop and listen and learn. How could anybody know everything? Well, you have to learn something. And how could you think your teachers, the people you learned from, were the only ones who knew anything? Maybe you need to listen to somebody else once in a while. And this comment goes out to the meat, dairy, and egg eaters of the world, to the religious people of the world. And if somebody is telling you, wait a second, don't you see what you're doing to these creatures? You think gas chambers? You think putting pigs and chickens into a gas chamber so you can burn their lungs with carbon dioxide until they die so you can eat their flesh? You think this is justice? You think this is what God really wanted? Or maybe it's the devil tricking religious people into doing things in God's name that he would never condone. I don't know why, again, people become so defiant. I'll even share a personal story. Listen, there was a time I didn't know anything about what animals were going through, but look where I ended up because I shut up and I listened. In 1995, I went vegetarian. I didn't know about veganism like most vegetarians. I thought, well, hey, We're not killing cows. We're not killing hens. So what's wrong with that? So I'm in Washington, D.C. Now it's 1996. I meet a group of people from Texas. On their shirts, it says Texans for Animal Rights. And they walk into the hotel that I'm at. And I said, hey, I'm Gary from Michigan. They said, hey, Gary, where can we get a good veggie burger? I said, oh, the Hard Rock Cafe right down the street. Man, they got a great veggie burger. They said, but it's not vegan. I said, so? That's a quote. So they said, what do you think happens to mother cows when they can't give milk anymore? My response, oh, I didn't know, but you'll notice I didn't start a fight like so many meat, dairy, and egg eaters want to do. It's okay. My point is, it's okay not to know. It sucks not to know, but it's okay. How could you know everything if nobody ever told you? So my response was, oh, and then I changed. But you saw this on the streets of Amsterdam, on the streets of Cologne. There were so many people when we told them what was going on. They ended up saying, oh, but what about God? God says it's okay. But what about protein? And then here come the excuses. Instead of making excuses not to do anything, how about making an excuse to actually do something? Make an excuse to make the world a better place. Make an excuse to make somebody else's world a better place. Another problem I have with religion, it only makes your world a better place. You know what else used to happen to me a lot, Paul? After lectures over the years, of course, I had plenty of Christians and other religious people in my classes. A lot of them would come up to me and say, man, you're such a great speaker. Why don't you go out and speak about Jesus? Why don't you convert people to Christianity? And I'd say, I'll tell you what, if you can prove to me right now how doing that makes the world a better place, deal. They'd always go silent. And I said, understand what I'm saying. Bringing Jesus into your life doesn't make the world a better place. It makes your world a better place. Back to selfishness. I'm looking to make the world a better place, not your world a better place. And believe it or not, they wouldn't even argue with me after that. They backed off and saw the point, understood the point I was making. So another thing with religion, it's actually supposed to make the world a better place, but it's turned into a ritualistic practice and it only makes your world a better place. It doesn't make anybody else happy. It doesn't make anybody else safe from suffering, safe from exploitation.
Yeah, that's the ostensible purpose of religion. But you and I know that's not how it works in the real world. And
Again, I wouldn't mind it. I listen, I go out and urge people to believe in God, Jesus, Muhammad, Moses, whatever being you want to believe in, Buddha. I don't care. But I don't see the world ever becoming a better place because people believe in God or believe in those messiahs.
yeah, for sure. And also going back to what you were talking about earlier, when people just refuse to listen to someone else. The reason for that is because most people are walking around with an out of control ego. So the ego is that force in our heads that says you're right, no matter the evidence to the contrary. And another thing that Mark Bassio said is that the measure of a bad person is when they are willfully ignorant in the presence of knowledge. And we've seen this with the outreach that we've done on the streets with the screens. We show people the truth, we tell them about it, and then they just refuse to change and they just stay willfully ignorant. Yeah.
Wow, Paul, that's those are some wise insights, man. Yeah, it's I think selfishness is probably the downfall of humankind. Everybody only being concerned about themselves. What I love about veganism, it's pure altruism. Uh, I not only don't think my life is important, I don't think my life is more important than a worm, than an ant, spider, a centipede. There was a centipede on my wall last night. Okay, most people would have probably rolled up a newspaper and smashed them to smithereens. I got a glass, caught him in the glass, put a little piece of paper around the glass, took him outside, said, "Hey, buddy, I don't mind you living on this planet. Just don't want you living next to my bed. But I'm going to put you outside. You're in the right household. I'm going to take you over here because my life is not more important than his life." And I wish most people would understand this, but as you know, when you saw it on the streets, man, people think humans are so special, so important, when it could be the opposite. I hate to repeat myself, but I end up doing that a lot because I'm trying to teach people. But I've talked about this over the years. I find humans to be completely unspecial, unimportant, and I have proof. It's not just my opinion. This is not dogmatic stuff coming from me. This is fact. If you remove humans from the planet, everything gets better. The animals thrive, the forests thrive, the air is cleaner, the water gets cleaner. But let me tell you about some important beings on the planet. If you take bees or ants off the planet, the ecosystem collapses. That's how important ants and bees are to the world. Over 29 years of being vegan, I actually came up with a list of 5 beings that I find to be worthless and unimportant. Fleas, ticks, flies, mosquitoes, and humans. However, I've had to alter this list over the years because I found out a few years ago flies and mosquitoes are pollinators. So they actually serve a purpose and do something beneficial to the planet. So let's take them off the list. Now we're down to fleas, ticks, and humans. But if you've been following the news over the last few years, at least in America, there's a tick out there that's biting humans and causing them to become allergic to meat. They're saying 450,000 Americans are now allergic to meat because they've been bit by this tick. So guess what? I'm going to take ticks off the list. Now we're down to fleas and human beings. 2 beings that I can't find a purpose for. All they do is attack. All they do is torment somebody else. So not great company that we're left in. And I don't know why it has to be this way, but it's certainly a choice by human beings. Human beings have made a choice to be parasites. We've made a choice to destroy. We've made a choice not to care about other beings. We've made a choice to try to destroy the planet at every turn instead of trying to live in harmony. And there's another thing, this has led to my brain melt over the years. I don't understand the decisions that people make. I don't understand how we could be so brilliant technologically and so stupid when it comes to ethics, when it comes to morality. We're absolutely idiotic, stupid beings when it comes to morality. And I'll tell you this, as much as I do love technology, I'm a sports junkie. I like watching my football games. I like listening to YouTube and listening to music. But I'll take a bunch of stupid, technologically illiterate beings as long as they're compassionate over a bunch of technologically brilliant and ethically deficient beings any day of the week.
Yeah, 100%, man. And I remember you did an interview with Emily some time ago. If we can create all of these wonderful technologies, or we can make these wonderful film productions, but if we can't be decent people, none of that shit matters. And
Yeah,
I also want to,
what's the point?
yes, and I want to get to the next question. I want to talk about rights, because most people, if you ask them what right is, they can't even give you the correct answer, and that also explains why they can't respect the rights of others, and why people are losing their own rights. So, what would you say a right is? To a bit like talking about a being that can comprehend the difference between right and wrong.
I'd keep it simple. How about the
Yeah,
right to life, liberty, the right not to be owned and exploited by somebody else, the right not to be raped, not to be tormented, not to be tortured, the right not to have your baby stolen, the right not to be murdered when you're a baby, the right to sunlight on your skin if that's what you choose, the right to be left alone unless you need assistance. These are basic rights to me that probably go over most people's heads. Most people would probably say, oh, the right to vote, the right to drink alcohol, the right to drive a car. What? These are all absurd things. Those aren't rights. Those are privileges at best. I'm talking about the right to freedom, right? The right to live your life until your life ends of natural causes. I think I opened up my famous speech at Georgia Tech by saying, or at some point it was, maybe it was after the Slaughterhouse video. How would you feel if the moment you were born, somebody else had already planned the day of your execution? How about the right not to have your execution pre-planned? I don't understand why we choose to treat animals like this, because we would never think it would be okay for us to go through that. Um, Something else I kind of want to piggyback onto this, but uh, if you'll notice that when humans are abused and tormented, you'll hear people say something like, "Oh, he was treated like a dog in the street. Oh, they treated him like an animal." So I'm really big on words and phrases. In order for that phrase to make any sense, you'd have to find beings that were treated worse than the person who was being victimized. And who do we always turn to make that example? The animals. So this is what leads to my brain melt too. We actually admit that animals have it the worst, and then we make excuses to keep doing it. Because here, I heard after George Floyd, when he had his head stepped on by Derek Chauvin, that disgusting cop in Minnesota years ago, people said, "Oh, they killed him like a dog in the street." So you're saying a dog in the street had it worse than George Floyd, who had his head stood on for 8, 10, 11, 12 minutes, whatever it was? The only way the phrase works is to make a statement like that. So I would ask everybody who is so involved in ending racism, sexism, heterosexism, whatever form of human abuse you want to bring up, and don't forget about the animals that you're violating while you're demanding life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. You can't be a hypocrite either in my eyes anymore, because I'm no longer standing up for human beings who are demanding life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, but refuse to give life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness to the animals that they're violating. So yeah, this whole right thing should be basic. The right not to be murdered.
Yes, all of those things you talked about are definitely right. So I think you'll also agree with me when I say this, that every being has nearly infinite rights, and there's only a small number of actions that we don't have the right to take, which you also mentioned now. And a right, if you define it, is it's always defined in the negative. It's any action that does not initiate harm to another sentient being. Do you agree with that?
I love that. That's you just summed up my 6 minute rant just a second ago. Yes, beautifully said.
Okay, cool. Then we can move on to the next one. What would you what would you concisely define as wrongdoings?
Well, I'm not good at being succinct and concise. So what I would define is basically everything though that I just said. Looking at another living sentient being and thinking that that sentient being belongs to you, that you have a right to control their body, that you have a right to take their body, to take their life, to take their skin, to take their flesh, to eat their flesh and wear their skin, to torment them and in vivisection experiments, to make them entertain you in circuses and rodeos. Um, how about just even if we go to thought, the fact that you think, the fact that humans think that they're more special than the animals is also a crime to me. I think it destroys our soul, doesn't allow us to flourish as so-called sentient beings ourselves. So everything we do to animals in the meat, dairy, and egg industries and vivisection, circuses, rodeos, zoos, everything we do to them is a wrongdoing from thinking in the first place that it's okay to do those things to them. How about the fact, and it's also a crime to me that I have to go out there, you have to go out there, animal rights people have to go out and explain this to everyone else? Isn't that a crime? I mean, here, I'm going to use a joke. Dennis Leary, famous comedian, he once, believe it or not, said something pretty poignant about animal rights. And he said, I noticed that animals always have to come before us as humans, as if we're gods, and convince us why we should leave them alone. And he said, so first of all, let's say there's a line of animals. And he's standing there as God, and he says, okay, who are you and what do you do? And he says, well, I'm an otter. I roll on my back and I do cute little human things with my hands. And he said, oh, okay, you can go. Who are you? What do you do? Uh, I'm a cow. I don't do anything. I sit in the field and eat grass all day. Bullshit, you're a baseball glove. Get on the truck. Next. Okay, now listen, there's truth in humor. There's truth in sarcasm, as horrible as it really is. It's funny. You could laugh because that's exactly what we do, and it's obscene that animals have to step before us and convince us why they shouldn't be tortured, tormented, exploited, and killed. The fact that we think we're gods and that we can do what we want, or that we have the power to say, nah, you're a baseball glove. Nah, you can go free. Nah, you're a sandwich. You're a bucket of wings. You're a milk machine. You're an egg machine. These are all wrongdoings in my eyes.
Yes, 100%. And that's also what the satanic ideology is about. It's becoming God on earth. And they've created like little mini me's from the Austin Powers movies. I don't know if you ever watched them back in the day, but you got Dr. Evil and you got his mini me sidekick who's doing the evil with him. And that's basically the mindset that they've given to the majority of the people on earth, is to become like this really egotistical and thinking they're better than everyone else. And yeah,
It's spot on, man. We are walking around like little satanic devils, just killing, tormenting everything in sight, acting stupidly about it, and then claiming that we're right. And then actually pushing it and pushing that belief, getting other people to believe that idiocy. That's also frustrating as hell when you hear people going out and promoting the abuse of animals, something that Ted Nugent loves to engage in, something that a lot of horrible people throughout history, they've actually gone out of their way to try to convince people to be evil to animals, especially when conversely, animal rights people, vegans, are going out to try to convince people to do something kind. Hey, don't view that cow as a milk machine. Don't steal her baby. Don't view that pig as a piece of bacon. Don't view that chicken as a bucket of wings. We're always trying to go out of our way to convince somebody to be nice to somebody else, as opposed to meat, dairy, and egg eaters and hunters who are always trying to get people to take part in the exploitation of animals.
yeah, it's sad. And you also said that you kind of think it's a crime that people have to explain, like people who respect animals and have to explain to people just not to harm animals. It's quite absurd, really.
Listen, it's led to my brain melt. I don't even know. I mean, there were times. So I had been lecturing. I started it in earnest in 2002. Now, in the late 90s, I did about 100 or so lectures once I got out of prison, but I never took it across the nation until 2002. Then I went nationwide. I hit 31 different states. So that's 2002. Fast forward to 2014. I'm getting worn out. And I didn't, when the arguments happened, I didn't understand what I was arguing about anymore. Like, wait a second, I asked you not to kill somebody else, steal somebody else's baby, rape somebody else. Why is there pushback on this? Now, as I bring this up, I want to be clear, as I talked about it already, I had amazing success during my lecture tour. But I was averaging 200 talks a year. So unfortunately, I didn't have 200 victories every year. Although, believe it or not, only had about 15 or 20 lectures that turned into a Jerry Springer show, a screaming match. That's a hell of a ratio for the topic that I was talking about. So I had 180 lectures, let's say, without one divisive comment. But those 20 or so lectures when people were screaming and yelling at me, and then I screamed and yelled back, it was so disheartening. It was so draining. It made my brain melt. And as I'm having the screaming match, go, wait on, why am I screaming at somebody not to kill somebody else, especially when that somebody else has never even harmed you? So we are certainly an amazing creation. Again, we have been blessed with all this technological brilliance, but we have the ethicality of a flea.
Unfortunately, that is the case currently, and I hope it does change in the future at least, or it'll be really cool if it does in our lifetimes, but I do doubt it. So the next question is morality subjective slash relative, or is it objective, and why?
No, listen, it is not subjective. Like you hear this nonsense with people saying, "Oh, but that's their culture." What do you mean? So it would be so if there were a culture on this planet that raped children, I wouldn't expect the meat, dairy, and egg eaters of the world to say, "Hey, well, hey, that's their culture." Or how about the fact that 80 million women in the third world have clitorectomies, have their clitorises forcibly, shaved off with a shard of glass? I don't hear people saying, "Well, that's their culture," clitorectomies. No, it is not. It is not subjective. There is right and there is wrong. I don't care where you're at on this planet. There is murder, there is not murder, right? There is kindness, there is evil. I don't understand anybody who would think that it would be subjective. And you hear this a lot as people sometimes when you bring up all the bull fighting that goes on throughout Spain and other Latin American nations, people say, oh, that's their culture. The fuck what their culture is. They're tormenting and harming an innocent being for entertainment. They're shoving 20, 30, 40 swords into his body as crowds cheer on. This is not this is not culture. This is not heritage. It's flat out barbarity. It's cruelty in its finest form. So no, there's right and there is wrong, and it is not subjective in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't know if you're aware of this law where you have morality and the relationship between morality and freedom. So as a society becomes more moral in the aggregate, they become and remain free. And as they become more immoral in the aggregate, they will become tyrannized and enslaved. And it's directly proportional.
Wow.
So
That's some deep stuff. It's spot on
yeah,
too. Yeah. I can't even add to that. That's very precise.
and I'm sure you've also noticed that because you've been around for quite a long time now, you're like 55 years old. Surely you must have noticed the erosion of our human freedoms over that time.
Yeah, listen, it's I've seen too much and I haven't seen the progress that a lot of people claim there's so much progress going on with human beings. I don't see it. I see just as much cruelty taking place on this planet than I saw in 1996 when I went vegan. And not just about the animals. There are human beings all over this planet still fighting for their equality. I don't understand. I don't understand why anybody should have to fight for equality, why anyone should have to fight for the right to be treated fairly, their right to be free. God, there's something else that people always say too. A lot of times when we're talking about animal exploitation issues, people will say, "Oh, but human beings. But what about humans? How come you don't fight this, this way for human beings?" But in order for that statement to make any sense, every time a human being needed their equality, there wouldn't be a fight. But there is. You have to convince men around the world to allow women to be treated equally, to have the same rights that men have. You have to always ask straight people around the world to let gay people have their equal rights. So I'm so tired of people trying to, deflect when we talk about animal exploitation issues when they say, oh, yeah, but what about humans? But that doesn't work either because nobody understands it because we're all fucking selfish. We're all mental midgets. We all think very little original thought. We're all automatons. We're all robots. Everybody's been programmed, especially by religion. Religion is the best programmer of people not to care about anyone else who doesn't worship the same God or the same Messiah as you, especially if they don't stand upright, right? All religions, and the Eastern ones too. A lot of people, I've been doing a lot of videos on my Instagram, and I keep bringing up Muslims, Christians, and Jews. And a couple people in the comments would say, yeah, the Eastern religions have it right. No, no, no. Okay. The Buddhists and the Hindus of the world are fucked too. They're now making excuses to kill animals by saying as long as they don't kill themselves, that it would be okay to eat meat. Well, who the fuck kills animals themselves besides hunters and slaughterhouse workers? Stop it. There should be no excuse, but this is the erosion, as you said, of human thought, of morality, of ethicality, that even religions that historically have been more kind to animals than the Western religions, they've lost their way too. Everybody has lost their way. And to me, it always starts with how we treat animals, or should I say, how we mistreat animals. I mean, that's the first thing that all human beings around this planet have in common. The cow, the pig, the chicken, the turkey, the fish, fuck them. They don't count. Eat them. They're sandwiches. They're shoes. People do this globally, and we wonder why we don't have peace on this planet. Look how we start off. We start off killing the innocent beings and ignoring the innocent cries of the animals. We ignore them, and then it becomes really easy to ignore the cries of human beings who are demanding their equality. To me, it all starts and ends with veganism. We're never going to achieve
Yes.
peace on this planet until we open our circles of compassion to the animal kingdom and live vegan.
Yeah, because with non-veganism, we view someone else as an other. So it's very easy for us to bring this mindset over into the human domain too, view other humans as an other. And then we find justifications for exploitation. So the next question is, do you think free will exists? And why do you think it is so or not so?
Wow. Well, I think it exists, but I don't think anybody's actually capable of exercising it because everyone's a robot. Everybody is programmed. So, yeah, we have free will to do good, to make moral choices and ethical decisions. But if we're always choosing immorality and we're always choosing violence and torture and exploitation, we're obviously not making the right choice. But it to me, it it's a program. It's people do what their religion tells them to do, what their government tells them to do, what their teachers tell them to do, what their mommies and daddies tell them to do, and nobody has free thought. Therefore, nobody is really capable of exerting free will. What do you
Except you,
think about
Gary.
that? Huh?
Except you, Gary. You've exerted your free will. You've come out of the coma.
Sure. Well, listen, and you too, and there are millions of vegans that have, but look how hard it was to break out of that robotic behavior. I mean, it took me 26 years. How long did you live before you were vegan, Paul?
Yeah, it took me 21 years, but once the truth was in my face, the change happened really quickly. 2 weeks it took me.
Sure.
And I know
So,
you said before, yeah,
no,
I
so,
know you
so
said,
I'll say we're capable of free will, free choice if we're open minded enough to listen to the truth and process the truth when it's presented to us. Unfortunately, most people are so programmed, even when they hear the truth, they still would rather, block it out, hide from it, hear no evil, see no evil, but they're engaging in evil. So it's, yeah, that's a great question, but it's, yeah, you would, gosh, you really have to open up your mind and be willing to be deprogrammed. How about that? You have to be willing to be unbrainwashed. Be willing to know something's amiss. Things aren't adding up. I mean, if you're paying attention to all the injustice going on this planet, and most people claim to, but then when you're presented with the biggest injustice of them all, as we kill more than 80 billion land animals every year just for the meat, dairy, and egg industries, yes, we kill more than 2 trillion marine animals for the meat industry. I don't know how people ignore that injustice, but they do. And then it makes it easier again to ignore all the other injustices going on this planet, whether humans are the victims or the earth itself is the victim.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. And then the next question is there a creator of the universe? Why or why not?
Wow, well, that might be subjective. It depends on which day you ask me. You know, on some days I just don't think that this was all an accident, that somebody created it. But the longer I live, the more I'm now positive we're living in a simulation. So whoever created it is just a horrible jokester and is having a huge laugh. Like, hey, let's put these beings together that don't get along. There's no way that these black people, these white people, and these Muslims, and these Christians, and these Jews are going to get along. And then let's throw in some animals too that they're going to hate. We'll put some cows and pigs and chickens on the planet, then they'll kill them. And then we'll even put some animals that aren't going to get along. We'll put some lions and tigers and hyenas on the planet. They're going to kill all the herbivores. And somebody is just having a massive laugh at our expense right now. Um, there are days I think, yeah, this I don't know, maybe this is an accident. Maybe it's a bunch of cells and bacteria just formulated somehow and created us. But I don't know, Paul. It's such a tough question because then I see the animals and I see the pureness in them, especially the herbivores. I see a giraffe, I see an elephant, and go, man, there's no way they're a mistake. Look how wonderful they are. Look how peaceful they are. Look how they just walk around harming nobody, exploiting nobody. Man, that is a deep question you just asked me. Let's put it this way. How about this? I'd like to believe that there is some kind of a God out there that created everything, that wanted to create a paradise. Um, I guess I'm going to go back to George Carlin, though. Then the longer I live, the more I realize this is not the work of some omnipotent being. This seems like an office temp with a bad attitude. That's a Carlin quote. I don't know. I don't know how to answer that succinctly or properly or wonderfully. I'd be interested to know what you think about that.
Thanks for sharing your thoughts on that. And yeah, I also think it's a deep question, and it does help to, well, anyway, what I think is the evidence of creation is in what has been created already, like the animals and the humans and the earth with all of its intricate and incredibly complex, and everything just works so well together. And you're right, there's a lot of evil in the world, and I think that's just due to people being lazy, ignorant, apathetic and cowardly, and allowing evil to overtake them. Because there's two forces in the universe. There's the evolutionary force and the involutionary force. So the God force is the evolutionary force where we become better and we become more complexity, and the involutionary force is the force that destroys everything and eventually tears us apart and annihilates everything. So yeah, I think I don't know if that's a very good explanation for creation. I tried.
No, that's definitely cool. I mean, listen, if we want to go back to the Garden of Eden, which, by the way, every religion has some version of it. I'd like to believe there's a chance that we can have a Garden of Eden where everybody would get along peacefully. As it states in Isaiah 11:7, the wolf will live with the lamb, the cow will feed with the bear, the lion will eat straw like the ox, a child will lead them, and no one will harm on my holy mountain. I'd like to believe there's a holy mountain. I want to believe there's a holy mountain. I'd like to believe one day we're all going to get there. But again, it depends on which day you ask me. If you ask me on a day when I'm being attacked, when people aren't listening, I don't think it's possible. But you ask me on a day, especially back in the day when I was lecturing, and not only did I convert 50% of the crowd, the entire crowd raised their hand and said, "Oh my God, okay, it makes sense. I'm going vegan." I'm like, "Yes, we can do this. This can happen." So oh God, man, it's tough. Sometimes, put it this way, it's tough to believe in a Garden of Eden when I look around the planet and see two-legged devils running around, destroying everything and making fun of injustice. I guess that's what always irks me the most. It's not just ignoring it. It's like they go out of their way and make fun of harming somebody else, make fun of taking advantage of somebody else. Um, Yeah, I don't know what else to add to that, man. It's a deep question.
That's crazy. It's a psychopathic mindset. The bacon though comments and no, but a lot of my meat in the TikTok videos that the vegans make to expose all the cruelty. It's ridiculous.
Do you know what's
And
funny? Actually,
yeah,
it just made me think of something. Is I used to tell this to during Q&A sessions back in the day was if you ever notice when there's a case of a dog or a cat being tortured, right? A bunch of people go light a dog on fire somewhere. Boy, if you read the comments section of a story like that, everybody, hunters included, are going, just give me 2 minutes with this guy. I'll beat the shit out of him. I'll cut his arms off, cut his legs off. I'll set him on fire. But then you expose a story about a cow, a pig, or a chicken being tortured and abused. And you read the comment section and people are going, bacon. Oh yeah, I wish I was there to eat her body. I mean, the the injustice, the stupidity, the missing of the whole connective point. Like, what's the difference between a dog and a cow besides 2,000 pounds? And what's the difference between a chicken and a cat besides feathers and fur? It's amazing the distinctions that people make when they decide when to be kind or when to be unjust, when to be nice and when to be exploitative. It leads to the brain melt again. Some people get up in arms when a dog is killed, and other people just laugh and have a party when a cow is killed.
yes, the moral choice comes between them and their addiction. I think that's the best explanation I can come up with.
I did used to talk about meat, cheese, milk, and eggs being the greatest addiction on this planet. I
Yeah,
talked about that in nearly all my speeches. That this is it. I mean, this cocaine, heroin, sex, gambling ain't got shit on meat, cheese, milk, and eggs when it comes to addiction.
absolutely. So the next question is, what would you consider to be a sentient being's rightful property? You
A
actually did answer
sentient.
that in the previous question. You did actually answer that, but yeah, sure, go for it again.
So wait, what? Ask me again. A sentient being's rightful property? You mean what that
Yes,
sentient being owns?
yes,
Such as an animal or such as a human being?
yes,
Well, I don't think I don't think a human has the right to own any other sentient being, but they would have a right to own insentient property, a car, a house, a chair, a table, jewelry, things like that. But you would have even if you share your life with a dog or cat, I wouldn't consider that ownership. I would consider it stewardship. I would consider it, taking care of somebody else. But ownership, property, yeah, no, a sentient being cannot own another sentient being. And of course, this is the basis. This is why the animal rights movement exists, is because human beings think that they own cows, pigs, chickens, and turkeys. But we actually think we own them so much that we can rape them, that we can steal their babies. Something I started saying when I was hanging out with you in Cologne at some of the Cubes of Truth was I would approach some of the people there and say, well, wait a second. If a black woman, a white woman, a Hispanic woman, Asian woman has a baby, whose baby is it? And everybody would always say theirs, of course. Well, then if a cow, pig, chicken, or turkey has a baby, whose baby is it? The meat eaters? The meat, dairy, and egg industries? I mean, you want to talk about injustice, that we think we actually have a right to steal somebody else's baby? You got to be kidding me. We are so far gone and so stupid sometimes. I don't even know how to respond to it. There are times, and listen, I have an answer to every stupid thing they say, but there are still times where they say something and I just, what? What did you just say? Did you just say that a turkey should have a right to have her own baby to be hers? Is this your position? The stupid things that stupid people come up with. I guess I wouldn't expect anything from a stupid person. And yes, for the people out there who are listening who are not vegan, you are stupid. Meat, dairy, and egg eaters, you are stupid. You are acting stupid. You might not be that stupid in general, but right now you are that stupid if you decide that you're going to go about living your life by exploiting somebody else, by eating corpses, by eating things that come out of hen asses, by eating things that ooze out of cow titties. You are acting stupidly. Grow up. Stop acting like a 5-year-old brat that's been told that they've been doing something wrong. Because the longer I live, that's the way I see meat, dairy, and egg eaters right now. 5-year-old brats. We're telling them what they're doing is wrong, and they're just having a temper tantrum. And that's why you hear
That's,
stupid things too, like crop deaths. Oh, I just did an Instagram video about this, by the way. Yeah. Oh, more animals die, when we harvest crops. Well, yeah, but this is a solvable problem. We're going to solve it one day with indoor vertical farming. We're going to have to do this too because of weather problems going on, whether it's freezes, whether it's droughts, and then something else too, insecticides and pesticides. Who is pro chemical on this planet besides the chemical industries? I mean, this is something that we could also take care of too, and there wouldn't be any infestation problems with indoor vertical farming. But the meat, dairy, and egg eaters don't even want to think logically about this. About the only way to solve a slaughterhouse is to burn that motherfucker down. The only way to make a feedlot ethical is to not have one. But you can have a crop. You can grow crops ethically, indoor vertical farming.
yes, and also we first got to get rid of the main problem, which is the animal exploitation, before we can get to the more smaller problems. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
I
the animal.
agree. I agree too.
Yes,
And
because yeah, like you said,
yeah, and I was gonna say during that video too, because I only have a certain limited time when I'm doing Instagram videos. I also brought up that yeah, animals get killed by roads on the roads of the world, but you can also build a road to be animal friendly, and there are places doing this around the world. And there was a place in Canada years ago I saw they had built a bridge and all of a sudden they didn't realize it was built across an elk crossing and elk were getting hit by the cars, so they built another bridge for the elk. And guess what? Elk aren't stupid, contrary to what meat, dairy, and egg eaters want to say about animals. The animals are not stupid. The elk realized that was their bridge and they showed pictures. The elk would cross over there. They stopped crossing where the cars were. So I mean, we can build, and we should be building if we're going to be taking their land. Let's also keep in mind as people are having wars all over the planet about this is my land, this is their land. Bullshit. This whole earth belongs to the animals. We're just guests here. Okay, this is their land. So we need to be building things with animals in mind so we're not harming them. Again, all fixable problems. But again, just like you said, I don't even want to get to these fixable problems yet until we get rid of the exploitation. And this would be an easy solution. getting rid of exploitation to animals is actually so easy. We can do it in a couple of years if everybody just changed, and then we could focus on solving all the other problems taking place on this planet.
Yes, it's like you said in one of the essays you wrote on your website a couple of years ago. All of these farms with these harmful agricultural practices are run by carnists, or let's say non-vegans, because carnist is not it's not the best word to use. I haven't found a good alternative to the word that describes someone as a non-vegan. Non-vegan is
How
the
about an
best one to
idiot?
come up with. An idiot.
Yeah, no, but for real, it's like all the industries, like people say, oh, Gary, but there are laws out there. Well, hold up. The laws, you mean that are written by the exploiters? You mean the USDA or the FDA in America that is in cahoots and being run by people who run the meat, dairy, and egg industries and the vivisection industries? Every state in America has something called the Department of Natural Resources, something to that effect. They're all run by hunters. I mean, what you do, so hunters are in charge of deciding how we should handle wildlife in every state. Wow, it's good to be the king. It's great to be, it's great to be an exploiter that's in charge of exploiting animals. This is why we never get anything accomplished for the animals. The exploiters are in charge of everything. Put vegans in charge, by the way, and watch all the problems of the world fall by the wayside.
Yeah, now that you say putting vegans in charge, there's a philosophy that I live my life by. It's that no one should be in charge, and that we should be able to just solve problems due to understanding the difference between right and wrong and organizing ourselves that way.
I agree with that too, man. And yeah, this is here. People would ask me over the years, Gary, if you could pass a law banning animal exploitation, would you do it? Well, I mean, would I do it? Maybe I would, but I don't want to do it. I don't think anyone should have to tell anybody else not to steal somebody else's baby. It should be a natural thought. For instance, I don't care what laws are on the books right now against raping women. I don't need a law to tell me not to rape a woman. Why would I do that? I'm not an evil, psychotic fucking idiot. So I want to get to that point too, where we don't need laws to tell people not to steal a cow's baby. We don't need a law. We shouldn't have to have a law to tell us not to put a pig or a chicken in a gas chamber to kill them. We shouldn't have to have a law saying that we shouldn't be allowed to murder a 6 week old chick. I mean, this is just insane. We shouldn't have to have a law that says don't light a dog on fire for burn research. This is just insane stuff to me. So yeah, I don't know why we can't get to that state where we don't need leadership. We don't need laws. Why don't we just act ethically and with morals? But as the point of this whole conversation seems to be, humans lack morals. And we lack them horribly. And I mean, we have such a long way to go on this moral road. I don't know if we're going to achieve it in my lifetime. I don't. I'd like to think so. Um, I lost faith a long time ago. I hope I'm wrong. I hope it does happen. But we seem to be the most immoral of all species that have ever existed.
Definitely share your pessimism on that one, Gary. And I think the best outcome for us actually could just be annihilation if we don't get our shit together, because that's what we deserve.
You're making my heart beat fast with excitement. Yeah, listen, if I had a chance to press a button to eliminate two-legged devils from this planet, I would not even consult with Carmen. I would not consult with Paul Bashir. I would not give Joey Carbstrong a call. I wouldn't contact anybody. Button would be pressed. The world would be such a beautiful place without us. And I don't say this with glee, even though I make jokes and I laugh and giggle. It does break my heart when I have to say this. But I'm also somebody that lives in reality and that embraces facts It's a fact of this world that we are a scourge, the scourge of all scourges, the infestation of all infestations, and the world would be better off without us.
Yeah, I wouldn't object to you pressing that button, but would you just give me a call before you press it and say, bye, Paul, I'm pressing the button now?
I mean, you know what else, Paul? I brought up, I can't really talk about this in detail. I just believe the world's a simulation because I can't believe things can be this fucked up. So usually every day I'll look to the heavens, who's ever up there fucking with us. I'm like, I'm tired of playing this game. Can you just come get me? Please drop me off on the giraffe planet. Please just put me on that planet where there's nothing but bunny rabbits and capybaras and sloths. Can you just take me off this planet? I'm tired of playing this horrible game. It's not funny anymore. It's not entertaining anymore. It's just fucking heartbreaking.
Yeah, it can definitely be torturous when you're so aware of what's happening around you. Yeah.
By the way, that is the one negative thing about veganism. People have asked this. Well, what's the only? Well, there's got to be a negative thing. Yeah, being aware. Being aware can be a negative thing because when those moments happen, when it's just too much and your brain is melting, I'll be honest. The first thing that goes through my mind, I wish I didn't know. Life was so much easier when I didn't care, when I didn't know, when I only cared about myself or my little circle of people. It takes effort to care. It takes effort to be concerned, truly concerned with animal issues. And I'm not just talking about this human rights shit where people just want to be concerned. You're missing the whole point if you're only concerned about humans and not animals. Life is hard when you are aware, when your mind has been opened, when the blinders have been removed. That would be the one negative thing to veganism.
Yeah, 100%. There's a concept that's called dystopia, which is a name for what you just described. I don't know if you've heard of dystopia.
Yeah, it's accurate. It's an accurate word.
So the last question is related to the farm animal sanctuary. It's what say you to the people who proclaim that the farm animal sanctuaries are like a prison for the animals due to being locked behind fences and not being free to leave?
Well, I would say if you got rid of the two-legged devils, we can take the fences down and then give them complete freedom. Understand the fences are there to protect them from the two-legged devils who have harmed them, which is why they're there. Uh, the sanctuaries I've seen, and I've been to dozens around the world now, they are wonderful environments for these animals. It's not a prison in the sense of a feedlot, a factory farm, a battery cage, a vivisection laboratory. Don't exaggerate, don't aggrandize this thing. Oh, it's some kind of a prison. But what's sad is whoever asked this question sounded to me like somebody might have sent you that question to ask. Um, you want to talk about complete subjugation, enslavement. Do you realize besides certain parts of India that a cow is not allowed to be free? Let that sink in. If there's a cow roaming somewhere besides certain parts of India, they will go get that cow and take that cow someplace else. Cow is not allowed to be free. Complete enslavement. So, considering that's how the planet views cows, when a cow gets to a sanctuary, we have to put up some kind of a fence at some point to prevent the authorities from coming in and snatching that cow and murdering that cow. Um, Besides, again, certain parts of the world, all the other animals just aren't allowed to be free. Somebody's going to go kill them. So these sanctuaries are places of protection. Now, they need to have proper space. I'll say this, if you know of a sanctuary that doesn't have a proper space, hey, contact them, say, man, you got to make this place bigger, you know, and that's why sanctuaries do have limits too when they take in cows. Sasha Farm has a limit. Like now, these cows need a certain amount of space so they can roam, so they can forage, so they can graze, and they have a limit about how many cows they can bring in. But let's not misconstrue this and make this something weird. Sanctuaries are wonderful places where animals can live and be free and be themselves and live in a Garden of Eden where nobody's harming them. Nobody's taking advantage of them. Nobody's making them do something that they don't want to do. At Sasha Farm, by the way, even on the chili cook-off, which is happening on October 11th, you're not allowed to go out and say run an animal down and try and pet him. You have to hope that that animal is going to come up to you. Now, we can coerce them with some food, and we're going to have buckets of food there. So, hey, you want to get a cow to come up, you better hold out an apple, but you got to let him come up, take that apple, let her take that apple. And then if they want to run, you know, walk away, that you have to let them walk away. So, sanctuaries should not be like petting zoos, and Sasha Farm certainly is it. And the majority of all sanctuaries I've seen, you know, not petting zoos. And they can also be used as places of education as well where listen, over the years, man, you know how many meat eaters I used to bring to Sasha Farm? And I would make my friends from the gym, I would say, you go up to that pig. You go look in that pig's eyes and tell him that he's a piece of bacon to you. And they'd all freak out by this. This is how I know that meat eaters are so full of shit. They'd all freak out at me. Like, what do you mean? I'm like, no, you're the one eating the pig. You go up to the pig. All of a sudden you feel a little different because now you're seeing your victim. Then it's easy to live in this fantasy land where you're not, you know, living with cows and pigs and chickens and turkeys. You never have to interact with them. Now you got to interact with them and interact with them. Now justify it. And nobody had a justification at that moment. The problem is, once they leave the sanctuary, all of a sudden they're back in their little secluded world, and they don't think about these animals anymore because they're kept hidden from us for a reason. You know, McDonald's and Burger King and Wendy's, they don't show you horrible images of animals being killed in slaughterhouses, being enslaved in factory farms, being enslaved in feedlots and battery cages, being forced to live in a gestation crate. They don't show these horrible images for a reason. It would make you think twice and make you not want to take part in the exploitation. So please support the sanctuaries. Please support Sasha Farm. Support your local sanctuary. And maybe there'll be a day where we won't have to have a sanctuary. We talked about this a second ago with laws. Like, I don't want to have to, there shouldn't have to be a law that says you're not allowed to steal an animal's baby. There shouldn't be a law that says you're not allowed to chop the heads off of cows. And there's and if we got to that level of morality and ethicality, then we wouldn't be exploiting animals, and then we wouldn't have to find homes for cows, pigs, chickens, and turkeys and put them in these sanctuaries. So maybe there's going to be a day where there won't be any need for a sanctuary. That would be a beautiful day too.
Yes, totally agree. And once you meet them, you don't want to eat them. And I also have a little anecdote that I'd like to share that corroborates what you just said. So we have cats here at home. Got two vegan cats or plant-based cats, because obviously cats can't be vegan. Philosophically, I mean. And yeah, before I did want to give the cats as much freedom as possible, because you kind of feel bad for them just being in the apartment all day, and you want them to be able to roam and do their thing. So we came up with a little system where we put them in a crate and then we lowered them down onto the floor, and then they would go out and go in the bushes. And the only problem is we live next to a busy main road here, and this was this is the first time that I had cats, by the way. And unfortunately, after like 2 months, one of our cats, she just got a little bit too curious and she ran across the road and she got taken out. And after that, I just said to myself, I want to be a responsible parent. And I just, from that day on, we kept the cats inside. So yeah, the intention is to give them as much freedom as possible. But like you say, in the real world, it's not always possible. We have to protect them from the two-legged devils.
Yeah, and there's too many of us everywhere. And if it's not two-legged devils, it's the four-wheeled vehicles that we've created that run over these animals everywhere. And we don't build the roads to be animal friendly. And I don't blame you for not wanting to harm your cat and letting them out because of what happened. That doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you a good parent. And that's what it's all about too. When we do bring animals into our homes, we are parents to them, and you wouldn't let your 3, 4-year-old child run across the street or be outside without being supervised either. Same thing with the dogs and cats. We have to keep an eye on them and make sure they're safe. And as long as you're giving them lots of love, and I know you are, Paul, they're going to be happy cats, and you got a happy household, my man.
Yeah, but I have to make a confession. As much as I want to be a good person, I get a bit addicted to taking the cat and putting them under the blanket. I know that's bad of me. I should just let the cat roam. And I'm trying to be better in that regard. So I'll be
No,
honest.
that's a requirement, man. That's a requirement. Listen, my last two dogs, by the way, just my luck. So I love dog kisses. And I always hate when I meet a dog on the street and they jump up and kiss me. And then the human says, "Oh, I'm sorry." I'm like, "Hey, what do you mean? Let this dog kiss me." My last two dogs hated hugs and hated kisses. So I have to confess too, I would hold them down and put them in a huge bear hug and kiss their neck, and they'd big growl. I'm like, "That's tough shit. You're gonna have to take these hugs and kisses. Oh, it's so horrible. I'm hugging and kissing you," and then I'd let them go. And like, deal with it. So that's just funny, man. That's so funny shit. Keep them in the bed with you, man.
Yeah, at least I don't keep them there. If they want to go, I'll let them go. So
I
that's what
know.
it's
I always
about.
had
It's
to let them
about,
go
yeah,
eventually too.
yeah. Yeah, that brings us back to the earlier point, free will. Beings have free will. So if we deny them of their free will, that makes us bad people. Yeah. And
Stealing hugs and kisses once in a while is definitely okay, but after a while, you gotta let them go.
yeah, yeah. And before I end this, I just want to talk about the false and the true seven deadly sins. So I'm hoping that you'll agree with me on this one, because I actually hope everyone in the world can agree with me on this one, because if we can't decide what the true wrongdoings are, then how are we ever going to create a better world? So I'm sure you know what the false seven deadly sins are: pride, gluttony, greed, sloth, lust, anger, and jealousy. I think those are envy. Yeah. That's seven, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so.
So then what those things are is those are actually not behaviors that are performed in the world. They're vices. So like you can have false pride, for example, and think your shit doesn't stink, but in reality, you're not doing that great. Or you can have lust, for example, but like lust can be an addiction, or eating food, gluttony can be an addiction, but it's not an actual behavior that causes harm against someone else. So listen to the qualitative difference between that and the true seven deadly sins. So the true seven deadly sins are all a form of theft, and they are murder, the taking of a life without a right; assault, the taking of someone's well-being without right; rape, the taking of someone's free will sexual association without rights; trespass, the taking of someone's security in their living domain without rights; coercion, the taking of someone's free will decision making without rights; deception, the taking of necessary information to make an informed decision without rights. And the last one is theft, of course, taking property. And property can be taking property without right. Property can be someone's physical body, their body belongs to them, or it could be physical property, or it could be their rights. Their rights are their property too. So hopefully you agree with me on those seven true deadly sins.
You are a philosopher, my man, erudite beyond belief. That is spot on. In fact, do me a favor, send me a text later today with those true seven sins, please. I'm going to use that. I'm going to use that in some podcast coming. That's good stuff. I wow. I ended on that, man. It's brilliant, brilliant.
I will do. And it actually doesn't come from me. It comes from great people who came before me. So I'm just a messenger
Okay.
of the truth. I try to be a messenger of the truth.
Well, you know what though? All the people I've come across in 29 years, I've never heard anybody bring that up. So we all have different teachers. I said this earlier. You got some teachers. You just taught me something about that. That's some brilliant stuff, man. And that's spot on. I have nothing to add. Spot on.
Cool, Gary. And you've also been a teacher, my teacher over the years. So I'm really grateful for that. And it has been an honor to have this discussion with you. You're a really courageous person and you are a real fucking hero, man.
Thank you, brother. And listen, honestly, it was a pleasure to meet you. It's a pleasure to call you a friend. You have a great mind and a great heart, and keep on using it, man. As long as you can do it, keep on doing it.
Thanks, Gary. And always remember, guys, donate to Sasha Farm Animal Sanctuary. Don't forget, it's important. And we should actually give something back to Gary too for all of the countless fucking effort he's put into animal liberation. Come on, it's the least you can do. Just give like 50 euros or something. It's not gonna kill you.
That'd be great. SashaFarm.org, baby. Just make a donation on the main page.
Okay. And
All right.
yeah, ciao for now.
All right.
Peace
Peace
out.
out, man. Take care, Paul.